Hey, welcome to the channel. Let's explore what the book has to offer. Oh, and keep an eye out for small notes that will pop up on your screen at regular intervals, perfect for quick takeaways and jotting down some life-changing insights. So, let's jump right in and see what this book can teach us.
All right, so you're ready to ditch those feelings of not being good enough. You want to build some rock-solid relationships, and you're looking for actionable advice. No BS.
I hear you.
Well, today we are taking a deep dive into a book that might just change your entire perspective. It's called The Courage to be Disliked.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's all about Adlerian psychology, which is kind of like a totally different way of looking at, well, everything.
Yeah, it really flips the script on a lot of the traditional ideas out there.
Exactly. So we're going to break it all down for you, and by the end of this deep dive, you'll have some serious tools to start living a happier, more fulfilling life.
Sounds good to me.
Perfect. So the book is structured as a conversation between a young guy and a philosopher, and right off the bat, the philosopher drops this bomb. He says everyone can change.
Right from the get-go.
Yep. No matter what your past looks like, no matter your experiences, you have the power to choose happiness. Right now.
And that's a core principle of Adlerian psychology. This power we all have to change, it directly challenges that Freudian idea that we're somehow stuck with our past traumas. You know, all that baggage.
Okay, so no more blaming our parents for everything.
Not exactly. But it's more about taking responsibility for your own happiness.
I like where this is going, but honestly, sometimes it does feel like I'm stuck in these patterns.
Like what?
Like, I know I shouldn't compare myself to my brother all the time, but I can't help it.
Well, the comparison game. It's a trap.
It is. And that's what's so interesting about this book. It digs into why we sometimes have these negative feelings about ourselves. And the philosopher suggests it often comes down to fear.
Fear.
Yeah, a deep-seated fear of being disliked by others.
Interesting. So rather than risking rejection, we reject ourselves first.
It's like a preemptive strike against getting hurt. But the thing is, it keeps us stuck.
And prevents us from forming those deep, meaningful connections we all crave.
So how do we break free from this fear? How do we stop comparing ourselves to everyone else and just feel good enough?
Well, that's where Adlerian psychology gets really interesting. It argues that feelings of inferiority are subjective, not objective.
What does that even mean?
It means we create these feelings by comparing ourselves to others using standards that we've basically made up.
So it's all in our heads.
In a way, yes. We have this power to choose how we perceive ourselves and the world around us.
Okay, I can kind of see that. But how do I shift my perspective when everyone around me seems to be playing this comparison game?
Well, remember what the philosopher said, life isn't a competition.
Easier said than done, right?
I hear you. It takes conscious effort. But when we start seeing others as comrades rather than rivals, as allies instead of enemies, it changes the whole game.
But how do I apply that to my own life? Like my relationship with my brother, he's always been the successful one. It's hard to see him as a comrade when I feel like I'm constantly trying to catch up.
That's a great example, and it leads us to another crucial point. We don't have to live our lives trying to meet other people's expectations.
You mean like my parents' expectations for my career?
Exactly. Seeking constant validation from others is a surefire way to feel trapped and unfulfilled.
So instead of trying to please everyone else, I should focus on what truly matters to me, even if it means disappointing some people along the way.
It's not about being selfish. It's about recognizing your own values and living in alignment with them.
Okay, but isn't that easier said than done? Like, how do I deal with a boss who's constantly breathing down my neck? It's hard not to let that affect my mood and how I feel about myself.
It sounds like you're struggling with what Adler calls the separation of tasks.
Separation of tasks.
It's about recognizing what's your responsibility and what isn't. Drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is my lane.
So even if my boss is being a jerk, I can choose not to let it ruin my day.
You can choose how you respond to any situation. It's about taking back your power.
But how do I do that without becoming a pushover?
That's where the courage to be disliked comes in.
Wait, is this where the title of the book comes in?
It is. It's about recognizing that true freedom comes from letting go of that fear of disapproval.
But wouldn't people walk all over me if I didn't stand up for myself?
It's not about being passive or letting people take advantage of you. It's about recognizing that you can't control what other people think or feel. The only thing you can control is your own response.
Okay, that makes sense in theory, but how do I apply that to my relationships, like with my overly critical mother-in-law?
It all starts with understanding the difference between horizontal and vertical relationships.
Horizontal and vertical. I'm intrigued.
It's about striving for relationships built on equality and mutual respect rather than power dynamics.
So instead of seeing my boss as someone who has power over me, I should try to see him as an equal.
More like shifting your perspective away from that power dynamic altogether.
I see. But how do I do that when he literally signs my paychecks?
It's about focusing on what you can control, your own actions, your own contribution to the situation.
Contribution. I thought we were talking about work relationships.
It's all connected. The idea of contribution is central to Adlerian psychology. It's about finding happiness and fulfillment by being of service to others and feeling like you're making a positive impact.
So it's not just about what I get out of life, but what I give back.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be some grand gesture. It can be as simple as being a good friend, helping a colleague, or volunteering in your community.
Okay. I think I'm starting to see the bigger picture here, but it's a lot to process.
It is. You only just scratched the surface. But before we dive deeper, what's resonating with you so far? What's standing out?
Honestly, the idea that I don't have to live my life trying to please everyone else is incredibly liberating. It's like a weight has been lifted, but I'm still a little fuzzy on how to actually apply these concepts in my daily life, how to actually do this whole courage to be disliked thing.
I hear you. And that's something we'll definitely explore further in the next part of our deep dive. We'll delve into practical steps you can take to build healthier relationships, overcome those feelings of inferiority, and find that courage to be yourself, even if it means being disliked by some.
I am so ready for that.
Me too.
Okay, so we've laid some serious groundwork here. Choosing happiness, ditching the comparison game, and embracing the courage to be disliked. But how do I actually do that? It still feels kind of theoretical,
Yeah, it's true. These concepts, they require a real shift in mindset, a whole new way of looking at things.
Right. So where do I even begin?
Well, one of the most practical ways to start putting these ideas into action is through the concept of encouragement.
Encouragement. Okay, I'm listening.
Remember how we talked about avoiding praise and rebuke, like telling someone, good job,
Yeah.
or you messed that up?
Because that creates those vertical relationships, the whole parent-child dynamic.
Exactly. Encouragement, on the other hand, focuses on supporting someone's growth and autonomy without judgment or expectation.
So instead of saying, wow, you did a great job, I should say,
You could simply say thank you.
thank you, really.
It might sound too simple,
Mm.
but it's powerful. It conveys appreciation and respect without implying a hierarchy.
I see. So it's less about evaluating someone's performance and more about acknowledging their contribution,
Precisely. And that helps foster a sense of belonging and purpose.
which are key ingredients for happiness, as we discussed.
Right. We're all interconnected.
But what about those times when someone genuinely messes up, like really drops the ball? Do I just bite my tongue?
It's not about ignoring problems or avoiding constructive feedback.
Yeah.
It's about focusing on the person's effort and their potential for growth, rather than simply labeling them as good or bad.
So instead of saying, you really messed this up, I could try something like, I see you put a lot of work into this. Let's figure out how to approach it differently next time.
Exactly. It's about guiding and supporting, not judging or controlling.
Okay, I like that. This encouragement idea has me thinking back to that whole concept of being of use.
It's all connected. When we encourage others, we're helping them tap into their potential for contribution.
So it's not just about boosting someone's self-esteem, it's about empowering them to make a positive impact.
Exactly. And that creates a ripple effect. The more people feel encouraged and empowered to contribute, the stronger the community becomes.
Okay, that's starting to make more sense now. But what about those times when I'm the one struggling? What if I'm the one who needs a little encouragement?
That's a great question, and it highlights the importance of self-acceptance.
Right. Recognizing my own worth, flaws, and
Precisely. And that includes acknowledging when you need support and being willing to ask for it.
ugh, that's tough for me. I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself to handle everything on my own.
I hear that. But it's important to remember that we're not meant to go it alone.
Yeah.
We all need support from time to time.
I guess I've always seen asking for help as a sign of weakness.
But true strength lies in recognizing our limitations and being willing to reach out for support.
Never thought of it that way. This is making me think back to those feelings of inferiority we discussed earlier. I wonder if part of the reason I compare myself to others is because I feel like I have to prove I'm good enough on my own.
That's a very insightful connection, and it highlights the importance of addressing those underlying feelings of inadequacy. If we don't feel good about ourselves, it's hard to accept support from others or believe that we deserve it.
So how do I work on those feelings? It's easy to say, be more confident, but it's much harder to actually do that.
Remember the philosopher's story about his height? He used to see it as a disadvantage, but he chose to reinterpret it as a strength.
So I can choose to reinterpret those negative beliefs about myself. But what if they feel so deeply ingrained? like they've been there my whole life.
It takes time and effort, but you can change your mindset. It starts with becoming aware of those negative thoughts and then consciously challenging them.
Okay, so instead of saying to myself, I'm not good enough, I could try something like, I'm learning and growing, and that's what matters.
Exactly. It's about replacing those self-critical thoughts with more positive and empowering ones. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Talking to a therapist or counselor can also be incredibly helpful in working through those deep-seated beliefs.
Okay, that makes sense. This whole conversation is making me realize just how interconnected everything is. My feelings of inferiority, they affect my relationships, my ability to contribute, even my ability to accept support from others, like a tangled web.
It is interconnected, and that's why this holistic approach is so powerful. By addressing these different aspects of ourselves, our thoughts, our relationships, our sense of purpose, we can create positive change that ripples outward into all areas of our lives.
All right, so we've talked about encouragement, self-acceptance, and challenging those negative beliefs. What else can I do to break free from this cycle of comparison and self-doubt? The book also mentioned something about living in the here and now, right? What's that all about?
Ah, yes, energial living.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the present moment and finding joy in the process rather than constantly striving for some future goal.
So instead of always focusing on what I need to achieve or how far I have to go, I should try to appreciate where I am right now. But what if where I am right now kind of sucks?
It's not about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring challenges. It's about shifting your focus from what you lack to what you have.
Okay, but how do I do that when I'm surrounded by reminders of my perceived shortcomings? Like my brother just bought a new house and I'm still renting a tiny apartment.
Remember, those are external measures of success, and they don't define your worth or your happiness. The book uses the analogy of dancing. It's not about reaching the final pose. It's about enjoying the movement and expression of each step.
So I should focus on enjoying the journey, even if I don't know where I'll end up.
Exactly. And by bringing your attention to the present moment, you open yourself up to new possibilities and experiences that you might have missed if you were constantly looking ahead.
But isn't it important to have goals and aspirations for the future?
Absolutely. But it's about finding a balance. It's about pursuing those goals with passion and purpose while also appreciating the journey and finding joy in the present moment.
I'm starting to see how this ties back to those life tasks we talked about earlier, work, friendship, love.
Yes, energial living is about approaching those life tasks with a sense of engagement and curiosity, rather than seeing them as burdens or obstacles to overcome.
So it's not about achieving some perfect state of work-life balance or finding the one. It's about finding fulfillment in the process of engaging with those challenges.
Exactly. And by living in the here and now, we can cultivate a deeper appreciation for the richness and complexity of our lives, even amidst challenges and setbacks.
Okay, I'm getting it. It's about shifting my perspective from I'll be happy when to I can choose to be happy now.
That's a wonderful way to put it, and that's a powerful choice to make.
This has been incredibly insightful. I'm starting to see how these different pieces of Adlerian psychology fit together, but I'm also feeling a little overwhelmed. It's a lot to process.
It is. And remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It's an ongoing journey.
Okay, so baby steps. But where do I even begin?
Well, that's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive. We'll delve into the practical steps you can take to cultivate self-acceptance, build stronger relationships, and find that elusive courage to be yourself, even if it means being disliked by some.
All right, so much to unpack here. I feel like my brain is about to explode. But before we wrap up this deep dive into the courage to be disliked, there's one thing we haven't really tackled yet.
You're talking about those life tasks.
Yeah, you mentioned work, friendship, and love. You call them tasks, not problems.
Exactly. Because they're not things you solve once and for all. They're ongoing challenges we face throughout our lives.
So it's less about finding that perfect work-life balance or the perfect partner and more about how we approach these areas of life.
You got it. It's about the mindset, the approach. We can choose to see these tasks as burdens or as opportunities for growth and fulfillment.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's break them down one by one, starting with work. I have a feeling you're not just talking about having a job here.
You're right on the money. Adler saw work as something much broader. It's about contributing to society, using your skills and talents to make a positive impact.
So that could be anything from raising a family to volunteering to starting a business.
Anything that allows you to feel like you're making a meaningful contribution.
So it's not about the paycheck or the recognition, it's about the feeling of purpose.
Exactly. And when you shift your focus from external validation to the intrinsic value of your work, that's where real satisfaction lies.
This makes me think about those people who absolutely love what they do, even if it's not a glamorous or high-paying job.
They found a way to align their work with their values and their sense of purpose.
I like that. Okay, work task, check. What
Yeah.
about friendship? This is a big one for me. I have amazing friends, but I sometimes struggle with those inevitable comparisons.
Ah, the comparison game strikes again. Remember what we said about seeing others as comrades, not rivals?
Less competition, more cooperation.
Exactly. True friendship thrives on mutual respect, shared experiences, a sense of belonging.
Okay, but how do I stop myself from feeling envious when my friends are killing it in their careers or relationships?
It all comes back to self-acceptance. When you genuinely believe in your own worth, you can celebrate other people's successes without feeling threatened.
I guess I've been so focused on proving myself that I've forgotten to simply enjoy my friends for who they are.
And that's a big part of the friendship task, nurturing those connections, being present, offering support without judgment.
You know, you're right. I've been so wrapped up in my own drama lately that I haven't been the best friend I could be.
Well, recognizing that is a huge step. And remember, being a good friend isn't about having all the answers or fixing their problems.
It's about being there listening, offering a shoulder to cry on.
Exactly. Sometimes just showing up is enough.
Mm.
Okay, we've covered work and friendship. Ready to tackle the big one.
Love. Gulp. Okay, lay it on me.
This might surprise you, but the same principles apply. Self-acceptance, confidence in others, and contribution.
So you're saying I need to go into a relationship already feeling whole and complete, not looking for someone to fix me.
Exactly. A healthy relationship is one where both partners feel loved and supported for who they are, not for who they could be or who they should be.
That sounds amazing in theory, but what if you have different goals or want different things out of life?
That's where communication and compromise come into play. Remember, it's about building a horizontal relationship based on mutual respect, not trying to control or change your partner.
So ditch the whole mysterious bad boy fantasy and look for someone who actually respects me.
Look for someone who shares your values, who challenges you to grow, and who you can truly be yourself around.
This whole conversation has been eye-opening. I never realized how interconnected these life tasks are, how the way I approach one area can impact all the others.
It's a beautiful, messy dance. And the key is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep showing up authentically in all areas of your life.
I love that analogy. It takes the pressure off and reminds me that it's okay to make mistakes as long as I keep learning from them.
You got it. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. Lean on your friends, seek support from a therapist, and most importantly, trust yourself and your own inner wisdom.
Wow. This deep dive has been truly transformative. I'm walking away with so much to think about, and even more importantly, so much to put into practice.
It's been a pleasure sharing these ideas with you. And remember, this is just the beginning of your journey with Adlerian psychology.
And to our listeners out there, we encourage you to explore these concepts further and see how they can help you navigate your own life tasks and create a life filled with purpose, connection, and joy. Remember, you have the power to choose happiness, to embrace your true self, and to make a positive impact on the world. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep daring to be yourself.
Kindly head down to description and click the link to purchase the book.
Thank you for listening to us. Please kindly like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also, please let us know which book you would like us to summarize.